Hey guys, it's another morning and I'm back on the bike. You know, it's not a really sunny day. It looks like it's gonna rain, but it's not gonna rain. But yeah, man, just going on another little commute, and today is a damn well happy day. You know, every day is a happy day, but today is a bit extra special, man. I'm just on the way to go see grandmom like I do every weekend, you know, to rub her feet down, make sure she's feeling good. But boy, when I got out of work the other day, I decided to ride up to Trek, man, to check on my good friends. And plus, I needed to get some inner tubes, man, because I had been riding around without inner tubes in this Trek 520 Grando. And I'm like, you know, just in case something crazy happens, I need to be prepared. Because even though I'm riding these Suave Marathon tires, you never know what can happen. So like I said, I headed on up the Trek, man, had some fun along the way. And when I got there, I talked to a good friend of mine, Jay, up there who was working, man. He's a great guy. And he's actually one of the first people that I told that I was gonna get a Trek 520 Grando. So I was telling him about how I want to do the Great Divide race and things of that nature. He was getting hyped up, and so was I. Every time I talk about it, I get hyped up. He was like, you know what, man? Trek needs to sponsor you, man. We need to take care of you, man. This is an amazing journey that you're gonna take. And I was like, you know what? That's something I've actually been praying about, you know, to get sponsored by one of these bike companies. And Trek in particular, since I love them so much and I always go to their store, and now I actually have a Trek 520 Grando, I'm like, man, that would be a cool thing right there. I was telling him I'm sort of sad that I can't use my Trek 520 Grando in the race, because although it could get me to the finish line, I'm trying to win, not just participate. And I showed him the bike that I was planning to get. And unfortunately, it's actually not a Trek product. And he was saying, I'm gonna be honest with you. That bike right there, yeah, you can compete in that bike right there, man. That's probably the type of bike you need. He was just telling me, you know, with the components on that bike and how it's made, that type of bike is gonna give you the best chance to compete, man. He said everything that you would do on your Trek 520 Grando is gonna be exponentially better on a bike like the one I'm looking at. You know, in a perfect world, Trek would decide to sponsor me. I would show them their bike and ask for them to send me a bike that they think is the equivalent of their bike, you know? If they were to send me a bike, give me some supplies, oh man, that would be a dream come true. But the cool thing about Jay, man, it was just like Morgan. He took so much time with me, showing me things about specs that I quite didn't know. And I learned a lot with him, man. He spent a lot of time talking to me and helping me out. But he was also getting hyped himself, thinking about racing. He was like, man, you got me so hyped, I almost want to go do this race. And man, he got to looking at my equipment and stuff, and he was like, you know what? You need a new helmet. He said, you know what? I'm finna give you a helmet, man. He took me in the back, man, and he basically just let me pick out my helmet. And honestly, I damn near wanted to cry because I was just so overwhelmed because, man, these helmets are not cheap. And for him to just say, you know what? I'm gonna give you this helmet, man, because you need a helmet. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, I was gonna have to buy a helmet at some point for this race. And the way this Trek helmet is made, man, it has the attachments that I need, you know, for a light so I can see at night when I'm getting ready to camp and things of that nature. I was like, man, this is just the type of helmet that I was gonna be trying to get at some point later on down the line. So that was an amazing thing for Jay to do. And then he started looking at my bike again. He was like, man, do you got lights on this bike? And I said, yeah, I got some lights on here, you know, but they were just from Walmart. You know, my bike light, it has like 100 lumens in the front, and I think it has like a 8 lumen tail light or something like that. And for all of you who don't know, that's not a whole bunch of power. But for me, I was like, okay, it's a decent amount of power. But Jay was like, no, man, you need to be safe out here on the roads. He said, you know what? Let me give you some lights, man. And he hooked me up with this Bontrager front headlight, man, that has 1900 lumens. And he gave me a new tail light, you know, and he hooked it up to my back rack, you know, my Trek back rack. And I was like, man, this is an amazing experience. And once again, I was just moved by Trek's goodness, you know, Jay's goodness, and, you know, the kindness of Trek. He was like, you know what, man, you're a continuous customer. You always come here, you know. And the problem is that shop is getting ready to close down, you know, the one I always visit in East Memphis. They're combining with another store. And he was like, you know what, we're finna shut down, we're moving, and the least we can do is just, you know, show a great customer like you, you know, some kindness. And man, it really was moving my heart, man, for them to be that kind to me. But also, I said to myself, you know what, man? This is another sign from God that I'm supposed to go on this race, man. That type of goodness coming out of nowhere, it was a sign from God that, you know what? You're doing what I told you to do. You know, when you do what God tells you to do, he brings about blessings that you cannot even hold. Unsurmountable blessings, man, unsurmountable. You probably can't tell, but I'm going up a nice little hill right now, man. I promise you, it's crazy how I feel stronger going up hills. You know, no hill can stop me, baby. I'm ready for the mountains. Bring on the divide. You know, Jay and Jeremy, they were telling me about all this extensive training that I'm probably gonna have to need, you know, to make it through this race. And I took all of their advice to heart, you know, all of it. But you know what the funny part is? I'm telling you, man, I have to see for myself, but you know, I ride my bike every single day, that's for one. But for two, I do believe, as I've said in another video, I've been blessed with some type of extraordinary amount of energy reserves, man. I just think that I'm not only gonna handle the divide great, I think I'm gonna excel at the endurance portion of the divide. You know, I'm sure it's gonna be things I'm gonna learn. It's gonna be a bit different for me, but as far as just handling the, you know, rigors of the test of endurance and the mental test, I see myself passing with A+ across the board, man. But I'm definitely gonna take their advice to heart, and I'm gonna steady try to ride more and more every day as I lead up to the race. And I definitely believe that trip to Canada is gonna get me super prepared for the race. And for all of you that don't know, when I say the trip to Canada is gonna get me prepared, I plan on riding from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee, all the way to Canada to start this race. And that's gonna be like 2,300 miles. So I'm gonna be riding 2,300 miles to get ready to ride 2,700 miles. So it's gonna be a hell of a journey. But you know, man, I left Trek that day so encouraged, you know, even more inspired to do the race, man. Their kindness, their goodness, you know, I really appreciate Trek. You know, yes, I would hope that I could get sponsored by them. You know, it would be amazing for them to say, hey, you know what? That bike you were trying to get, we're gonna give you this bike, which we think is its equivalent. Why don't you go win in this bike? But nevertheless, I'm gonna get this race done no matter what, you know. I'm going with or without a sponsorship, man. I'm gonna do my best, and the kindness that they've already shown me, man, I'm definitely gonna take to heart, and it's gonna help fuel me on this race, man, as I push on and on and on to the finish line. You know, I can't wait to see how it's gonna turn out. You know, all the clothes you see me wearing now, they're gonna eventually change. You know, I'm gonna get the right bike attire, the right equipment, the right bags. You know, I'm just happy to have you guys on the journey with me to see how everything is gonna transform here in the future, man. It should be really cool for you to see me go from a normal commuter to being a racer. You know, my brother said, you know what? You're not a racer today, but once you race in that race, you are gonna be a racer. So I agree with him. After I race this first race, I am gonna be a racer. So yeah, man, I'm really happy. What's crazy is there's like several other videos that I was gonna shoot talking about the trip. But when this happened, I had to shoot this video, man. And I'm just overwhelmed with Trek's goodness. You know, I'm happy to be on this journey. And like I always tell you guys, whatever journey that you have in your life, you know, whatever dream you have in your heart, you know, you can do it. You know, and if you have to go anywhere in this life, you know what you need to do. All you have to do is get on your bike and take a ride.